Hello and welcome to the coronavirus update for the 3rd of November 2021, where our total world deaths is now past 5 million. There's been quarter of a billion cases in the world, 250 million. So, divide this by 5, it's about 1 in 50. Death rate here is still about 2% after, this is your infections per week for the last couple of years. These are your deaths per week for the last couple of years. These are your vaccinations. And, if you were being well, what have we had? We've had a billion, 6 billion, 7 billion vaccinations worldwide, which is more or less one dose for everyone in the world ish. And if you're looking for what effect did the vaccinations have, you might say, well, actually, there's been very little effect on really anything by all of these vaccinations. Not entirely true. So, what you'd be looking for is these three peaks here. They're all, these two are about the same size. This one's a bit bigger. And if you take a look at once the vaccines start kicking in, the death rate does decrease. When you're looking at it worldwide, it's maybe not as dramatic as you would expect. You maybe expect this thing to, halve the death rates, but it's not given evenly over the world. So let's go back to. There's one weird thing. I don't know why Nebraska not reporting their data anymore. If you zoom into Nebraska, it's the only place that doesn't apparently report any data. So I'm not quite sure what the deal there is. But let's take a look at America. Now, I remember in the early days of the coronavirus, my prediction was that, you take your rough 2% death rate, you apply it to America, you're looking at, actually, that'd be 6 million dead. And it's, it's 0.7 million, it's the best part of a million dead at the moment in America. And this is one of the crazy things that I don't really have a good explanation for. You take a look at a place like the UK, where UK's got a population of about 50 million. So, this is basically everyone is double dosed, more or less. And you take a look at, this wave here, where it correlates almost perfectly between the number of people getting it and the number of people dying. And now you take a look at it for the next wave, and the number of people dying has dropped by probably a factor of 5. And this is due to the vaccinations. And you take a look at America. Well, America's population about 300 million, so this is getting on for 60% vaccinated. And you take a look at this peak, that correlates with that one. Then you take a look at after all the vaccines have been done, and there's really not a great effect from the vaccines in America. And I'm not sure why that is. I really don't have a good explanation. It might be that, there are enough old people who don't get vaccinated for reasons we'll come to later. Or I don't know. There doesn't seem to have been a great effect from having 2/3 of the population vaccinated on the death rate in America. And indeed, this wave here, your deaths are almost as high as they were in the big wave. So this was the Trump wave, and this is the Biden wave. But it's almost as bad. So not quite sure what that's all about. But could be worse. You could be Russia, where it's heading up to peak. Well, it is peak deaths and it's peak cases. And the vaccination rate in Russia is very low. So Russia's got a population of about 150 million. So for double dosing everyone, you would need about 300 million here. And we're at about a third of that. So this is 30% vaccination. And as you might expect, has actually very, very little effect on anything. And apparently in Russia, there's this thing that going to sound fairly familiar, that you don't do what the government tells you. If the government says something, then the government's wrong, and yeah, uh, it's amazing, and in Ukraine it's the same. I mean, look at this. So they got it nicely under control for a bit, but you take a look at the size of the infection spikes and the size of the death spikes, and the ratios are basically the same. Going wider in the world, India, which is total deaths, is any place that, well, one of the few places that rivals America. These are probably grossly underreported, but even they're going up in deaths. It's likely that we're scaling up for a winter wave. You go across to, UK got it early, right? It started early in the UK. Pardon me. Told you the winter wave would start earlier. Oh no, it's going to have to... My brother, by the way, in the UK, he's now actually, and my niece, both have had now coronavirus, so they are actually part of these statistics. Both of them turn out to be fine, but there's still this sort of little worrying element that, all right, I've got the coronavirus, there's a very low chance that I'm going to die, but there aren't that many weeks when it's like, yeah, I get coronavirus on Monday, and it's out of your control at that point. By Thursday you might be on a ventilator, and you don't know how it's going to roll out. So I mean, the chances are low, but and rather not die by the end of the week, especially since he's my brother. Anyway, so UK started early, but the rest of Europe is now kind of following suit. So Germany is another one that actually their vaccination rate's not that high. I mean, it's lower than the UK, but anyway, their cases have gone up. The deaths, not so much. I mean, you see there's a huge... these two are correlated. Then the deaths drop by almost a factor of 2 for the second wave. And for the third wave, your infections are about the same. Your deaths, they're really not going up. So I mean, you're getting rid of 75% of your deaths, something like that, from the vaccinations in Germany, and maybe their added care or something. I don't know. Brazil, I can't remember. Okay, so Brazil is probably what it would look like if you just actually no. Brazil's getting up for. I think it's 200 million in Brazil is the population, I think. Hang on, let me just check that. Population Brazil. 200 million? Yeah, 200 million. So for double vaccination and everyone, you need 400 there. So they're somewhat over 50%. But they had some huge number. Yeah, I mean, they've got almost as many deaths as America. They're on 0.6 million. America is on 0.7, 0.8, that sort of thing. But like I was saying, we're building up for a new wave across the whole of Europe. You come down to France, and it's more or less the same story. That the earlier waves, once the vaccines start to kick in, deaths start going down. But not everywhere in Europe. So the further east you go, and all of a sudden, Poland, it looks like there's no real effect from the vaccination rate in Poland, but Poland is very low. I forgot what Poland is. They're going to be like 80 million or something. 80? Poland. Let's try Poland. Oh no, they're only 40. Right, so they're at 50% vaccination rate. And if you come down to where I am, which is Czechia, I might have to do a search for this. But it looks basically like Poland, which is bad. So cases are going up like absolute crazy at the moment. So this is, I mean, you can see where this is going to go. This is going to be sort of like another winter wave like that. That was the last winter wave. How much the deaths will follow suit remains to be seen. But yeah, the sort of sad thing is this clearly. Let's go back to the world numbers. This clearly isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, even if you say you've sort of broken the scaling, the link between infections and deaths, which is great. Um, yeah, you're still looking at 60,000 dead a week, which is, worldwide, that's like the entire Vietnam War death toll every week. Yeah, although it's spread all over the world, so people tend to not to notice it so much. And this is probably one of the things that allows the vaccine conspiracy nuts to get away with so much of this. Yeah, these are actually not that dissimilar numbers from the 1918 pandemic, which, right, maybe it killed 10 times as many people by the time it was done. Yeah, this is going to at least kill another few million. Right? So we're looking, it might go up to 10 million for the world. And yeah, okay, roughly doubling it, which means, America might, it's almost certainly going to break the million. I mean, you're 10,000 a week at the moment. So, I mean, that's assuming it stays like that till Christmas, let's call it 10 weeks away, that's another 100,000 on there. So, I mean, unless this sort of drops to zero, I mean, it will at some point drop to zero. Everyone who can either get the Rona gets it. You might get double infections and all sorts, so it's not entirely certain. But yeah, I mean, the chances are if we had this sort of access to the numbers for the 1918 pandemic, they would be very similar. And I now know 10 people have had the coronavirus. No one's died from it. I know friends of friends who know people have died of it, but I don't know directly anyone who's died. I know someone who got very sick with it, but I don't know anyone who actually died. And that's, if you think about it, about right. If you need to, on average, know 50 people who have had it before one of them, on average, will die. I don't think I know 50 people have had it. So, but those aren't that far off the previous large pandemic. In that you take a look at the total number of people they killed in the world, and it's 50 million over the world for the last pandemic. But if you take a look at it in terms of fraction of world population, it's not that many. Anyway, so the depressing thing is, of course, that you still have all of the anti-vaxxers who you have to question whether these people even know what vaccines are, or what contagious diseases are and how you fight them. So this thing, Global Veterans Alliance, whatever that is, upholding the freedom they died for. Well, I don't think that veterans died for your ability to pass on contagious diseases. So it's one of those things that I mean, scrolling the days back to AIDS, right? When I was young, AIDS was a new virus. No one had ever seen it before, and there was no cure for it. Well, there never really is a cure for viruses, but there was no way to stop it. It just basically rotted away all your immune system cells, and then you died. And it was sexually transmitted, and there were several high-profile cases about, whether having unprotected sex, if you had AIDS, was actually a criminal offence or not. And first of all, you don't know you're going to pass on the virus, and you don't know that the other person's going to die from it, that sort of thing. So, This is the personal freedom versus your ability to infect others. Now, all right, sex is you're choosing to spend time together, but is this the freedom that people died for? You're and then this is now more into sort of mask wearing. Should mask wear or should some form of protection be implemented if you're going to get large groups of people together when you know that you don't necessarily know that you've got it, but you might know whether you're in a high risk category, that sort of thing. But I don't think any of these people. I mean, there are other differences as well with coronavirus. There is a very small chance you'll be dead by the end of the week, and there's a very good chance that you'll get a minor sniffle and you'll be fine. Which wasn't true with AIDS. With AIDS, it was if you got it when I was young, you were certain to die of it in about 10 years. Nowadays, it's much more manageable. You can sort of inhibit the virus reproduction. But it's almost impossible to get rid of AIDS still. So basically, once you've got it for life. But you take another look at these things. No vaccine passports. Well, you take off the word of vaccines there, and no passports, and it now gets you thinking. Would these people be happy with people coming into the country without being vaccinated or without proof that they don't have the virus? Is this upholding or is this taking away freedoms that people died for? And the answer is no. I mean, if you want people coming into your country, you want them to at least show that they've not got any. Well, I mean, ideally it would be, you want them to show that they've not got the contagious disease in the age of the contagious disease, but. Never underestimate the stupidity of people in large groups. Really quite depressing. Also, I mean, in terms of vaccine, they've got some paranoia about what vaccines are, in that virtually everyone here will have been vaccinated for, maybe smallpox, certainly things like polio. Polio vaccine is incredibly facile. It's like a few drops on a sugar cube, or it used to be. Measles and mumps, they'll all been vaccinated against these things. So the bit that's different here is this is new. And, with all those other vaccines, all you do is you sort of inject basically some of the spike proteins and your immune system goes crazy and says, oh, I've detected new spike proteins, makes a load of things that bind to the spike proteins, thereby priming your body, should it ever come in contact with a real virus, that it goes, I recognize this, and produces loads more antibodies, and that, it doesn't stop you from getting the disease, but it means that your immune system shuts it down far quicker than it would have done otherwise. And obviously the only time these viruses are dangerous is if they replicate and overcome your body's ability to fight them. And that's all the coronavirus vaccine is basically, it's a little more sophisticated, the coronavirus vaccines, but the point is that, how many coronavirus vaccines, right, there have been, what was it? 7 billion vaccine doses administered, right? If there was any effect from this, it would certainly be known by now. This paranoia, it's all about the government out to get you. The government is so massively incompetent that they can't, Machiavellian government schemes are not something that bothers me, in that usually, the government is so incompetent it can't organise a piss up in a brewery, let alone some megalomaniacal scheme to um, yes, pretend that there is a worldwide pandemic that's killed, uh, 5 million people. I mean, this would basically mean the entire world, every single government, from those in North America to those in Russia to, the tin pot dictators, they would all have to be on the same wavelength here. And, well, you don't have to think long and hard to work out that's all crazy. But anyway, so yeah, that's the coronavirus update for the 3rd of November. Second, it says up here, but whatever. Third soon enough. You're just looking ahead. This isn't going to go down anytime soon. In fact, arguably, world cases are still going up. We're probably going to get, I would guess, another winter wave. Look, something like that. So this was the last winter wave. For some reason, there's a summer wave as well. I don't understand that. And there's probably going to be another winter wave, which will be starting now. Actually, there's a spring and an autumn. Okay. But we're probably going to get at least one more. And if you're in a country like the UK, where that's where they were protesting the lockdowns, by the way. I mean, Christ, seriously? You're protesting lockdowns when you're almost at peak cases. All right? Yeah, deaths are down a factor of 4 from what they were at the more 5, 6. But I mean, yeah, the more cases you have, the more chances you have of picking up variants that basically undermine your vaccine. So, well, whatever. It's a learning experience for the world, I guess. Okay, so that's the update for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a thumbs up on it, and I will see you next time. Ciao.